Today's podcast is brought to you by the Herzog Foundation. As families across America prepare for a new school year, moms are asking important questions about the future of literacy, the fundamental role of parents in their children's education, and how can we ensure that every child receives a strong academic foundation. Well, who better to have this conversation with than the United States Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon. Today, she'll share the progress being made to reshape the future of education. She'll address the challenges facing our schools. She'll share her advice for parents as they send their children back to the classroom, plus so much more. That's all coming up next, moms. Stay with us. This is the Moms for America podcast. Each week, leaders and everyday champions tell personal stories, share advice, and tackle the issues most important to moms. Welcome to the Moms for America podcast. I am back in Washington, D.C., joined by the incredible Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon, for our Back to School special. Thank you, Secretary.
Yay, it's so great to be here. Thank you.
Yes, well, you're one of our favorites.
Well, of course. What do you mean? I'm not the favorite? No.
I should have said you were
no, I'll
favorite.
settle for one of your favorites.
We so appreciate the work that you're doing.
Thank you. I love this.
Don't you?
This is so cool.
Right. And when we look at this, I mean, we actually have multiplication and the alphabet, some of the things that our kids are struggling with. But thankfully so, this administration is working so hard to correct. But you know what? Before we start, I know that you're up early, working late. We have a Moms for America podcast.
Fantastic.
Cup for you for your coffee. And there is a little gift in there if you want to open it.
Whoa, all right.
All right.
It's not a trick gift, right?
No, it's not
okay.
a trick.
All right.
It's just a little something because we so appreciate all the hard work that you're doing.
This is awesome.
Yeah. Books. There we go.
This is so cool. Look at that.
Yes.
It's awesome.
Some rhinestone books. There we go.
That is fabulous. Thank you. That's a really cool pen.
Yeah. Well, that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to restore, I guess, civility back into education. So thank you so much. All right. The contrast couldn't be any more different for parents as they prepare to go back to school. Than, say, 2 years ago or a year ago. You are doing some incredible things as far as helping the state of education. And I know that you're also looking towards the future for other initiatives that you want to do. What about a quick little update? I mean, it's been, what, a year and a half? Is it almost a year and a half?
Just about a year and a half. I came into office, I think it was March 3rd.
Yeah.
So we're about 16 months in.
Can you believe
Yikes.
it?
It's flown by. It really has flown by.
Right.
I wish we have so much to do, so little time. So we're working really, really hard, every single day.
Yeah. When you look back, I bet you're shocked at the progress that has been made, the things that still need to be done. I mean, you did come into a challenging position. I'm sure you never thought you would be the Secretary of Education, right? This was never on your list, right?
It was not on my list. It was not something I thought about, but I'm incredibly honored that the President asked me to be the 13th and last Secretary of Education, because that clearly is his goal. Yeah. That is his executive order. That is what I am working under, to make sure that we can transfer education back to the states.
Yeah.
States actually pay about 90% of their own budget for education. So only about 10% of that budget then comes from the Department of Education.
Yeah.
And but about 41% of the regulatory costs come out of Washington. So go figure that. And that's just not right. And so we want to make sure that states really have more control over education. They get to keep more of the money. And we want to see those scores with the students go up.
Yeah. Well, we've got so much to chit-chat about.
Okay.
I don't even know where to
I'm
start.
ready.
Yes,
Let's go.
I know. Let's talk about the 50-state tour. You've gotten about halfway through.
Well, I'm at 30. I just finished 39 states.
Oh, 39 states.
Yes.
Bad Google. They told me the wrong thing. They told me 20-something.
We better update something then.
So you're on the tail end of this. What have you discovered? What have you found out when you went state to state, classrooms, teachers, leaders in the community about education?
Well, I've been to all kinds of schools now.
Yeah.
I've been to micro schools, middle schools, high schools, universities, charter schools, full public schools, private schools.
Wow.
So I've kind of covered the waterfront in all kinds of schools. And what I really like to see are what are the different methods of teaching. How are they treating their students? What is the teacher morale? All of those things. What are the different kinds of buildings? And do schools, set up their classrooms, like the old way in which there was, one student behind the other.
Right.
Or are they more in groupings? Are they on the floor and the chairs? And it's really interesting to see different school models and how they're all effective. But none of that do I control. Right. And I think the misnomer or the misthinking relative to the Department of Education is that I hire teachers, I buy books, I do all that. None of that is true.
Right.
So the Department of Education simply serves as a pass-through for money, which is appropriated by Congress. So when this hue and cry about education, my God, they're going to shut it down. We simply are going to move programs to other agencies, and the money will flow through there, as it did before the department was established in 1980.
Right. And I think that is, like you said, that is people don't understand the fact that the Department of Education hasn't always been here. This is a new department, and a department that has grown very big and has, it's not necessary, according to President Trump, and we would agree so as well.
Well, let me tell you, since 1980, we have spent $3 trillion. $3 trillion on education in our country, and we have watched the NAEP scores, or the nation's report card scores, go like this.
Right.
And we're clearly doing something wrong. We have failed our children relative to education. Now, I think there have been some programs that have been put in place with the best of intentions. I know when during the Bush administration, it was No Child Left Behind. During the Obama administration, it was Race to the Top or core curriculum. And I do believe that a lot of those things were put in place with the best of intentions, but they just didn't work.
Right.
What it proved is that you can't do education top down from Washington, D.C. And the states in which we have seen the greatest improvements in scores and innovation have come from that state level.
Yeah.
We saw the Mississippi Miracle, which was, students who were last or next to last in reading, and that program was put into place. The science of reading was put into place in Mississippi. And we saw them come from next to last or last all the way up past the middle and approaching the top now.
Look at that.
But clearly all state.
Right. Governor
of the state and had a very, creative state superintendent, Lori Todd Smith, who's now in D.C., working at HHS. But there was really good thinking, good research, and put the program into place. And then other states, Florida and Iowa and Texas and Tennessee, a lot of states now are really coming on board. And through their innovation, they are making changes.
Yeah. Beautiful. Love to hear those reports. To your point, Thomas Jefferson said, a nation's future depends on the education of its children. And you just talked about the trillions of dollars and what's been happening with this bureaucracy. Right now, the stat is 3 out of 10 students can only read proficiently at their grade level. Obviously, to your point, the system has been broken. And I want to talk about some of the wins that you're doing as far as helping education get restored. Were you shocked to see those numbers when you first came in?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And really, really shocked. Yeah. And, the NAEP scores came out right after the president took office in January. And he said to me, look, I'm not only angry. He said, I'm embarrassed by this. So not only were the national scores in that position, but when we looked at the PISA scores, which would compare us internationally, we were like third from the bottom. And he said, we clearly have to change this. What we have is not working. We have to take education back to the states because he believes, as I do, that the very best education is that's closest to the child.
Right.
It's with parents. It's with teachers. It's with school administrators who are really working in their communities. They know what their communities need much better than a bureaucrat like me sitting in Washington, D.C., could ever predict what is going to work in each of those different communities or what's best for their school. They are where the experimentation, the innovation needs to come.
Right. And that's what it means to be bringing the education back to the states. And I think some folks have gotten confused on this, especially our moms too. So the clarification of that is so important. And different communities and different teaching styles and different demographics of all those really play into education, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about some of the accountability measures that you're trying to put into place to help education grow and just be what it should be. What are some of those accountability measures?
Well, let me tell you one of the things that we're doing relative to change your question just a little bit.
Sure.
To give education back to the states.
Okay.
I have now signed, I believe it is 6 state waivers, which allow state superintendents or state secretaries of education to bundle 4 to 5 streams of grant money that are coming into the state.
Going back to the funding.
Going back to the funding, because it really does a lot of it come down to funding.
Yeah.
So to take those different streams, put it into one pot, to let the governor or the secretary of education or the superintendent of education, whoever that person is in that state, when they know where that money needs to be spent.
Yeah.
And to take it and spend it in those areas. And that accountability we watch because they have to file a report on an annual basis. Typically, those grants in that fashion last for 4 years. But you have to report every October as to where that money and how it is being spent, and we expect to see results from it.
Oh, absolutely.
And so that is one way right now we're specifically getting money back to the states. And it same money, different way that it's coming in. Not a different way that it's coming in, a different way to utilize it once it comes in. And for instance, if you think about one of the examples I like to use about how states are different, the state of Oklahoma, they have a lot of aerospace industry there.
Okay.
And one of the things that they are really looking at in their charter schools and their public schools is how do they serve their community? Is that teaching different than maybe a school that's more in the middle of the country, say in Iowa or Idaho, and are those subjects a little bit different? Now, they have to teach math, they have to teach English, we have to be proficient in all of those things, but there might be more courses that are geared towards those industries.
Yes.
In those states, and so that you are servicing the community.
Right.
Because isn't our goal to educate these children, get them through school, so they can then make a living? And I think I have talked about, I'm jumping around on you a little bit.
It's okay.
But I think one of the things, that I have talked about as I have visited all of these states is that we have to, I think, rethink our views on education. It's like a change in culture of educational thought. Not every child needs to go to college.
Right.
And heretofore, maybe a manufacturing job was thought about as greasy, and I don't want to get involved in all of that. Oh, my goodness. Some of the manufacturing jobs today are so cool. They're laser factories. There are all kinds of things that are just, in all the digital manufacturing that's done. And it's so cool, so much of it.
Absolutely.
And, 3D manufacturing, that students can just take different kinds of courses and have different pathways to careers. And it used to be thought, wow, if my kid doesn't go to college, it's because he can't quite make it.
Right.
So, fallback position in education is, okay, well, they'll go to trade school.
Right.
There'll be a plumber, there'll be an electrician, there'll be an HVAC technician, whatever that is. Well, the fastest growing sector of millionaires in this country today is that skilled workforce.
It sure is. And we've talked to Mike Rowe in the past, and he said the same thing. I mean, what we have lost in the trades and just degrading almost those jobs.
Yes.
And they are really the backbone of America, those trades.
Well, and not only that, but if you think about all the manufacturing that the president is reshoring and all the jobs that can be created, we don't have a skilled workforce to service a great deal of those jobs. And so that's one of the things that we are working, so hard to do. And so that skilled workforce, we want to make sure that there is a pathway to that through school. Let's find out what kids are interested in. What do they want to do? What do they want to study? and push them in that direction, or guide them instead of pushing, but guide them in that direction.
That's what we do best as parents, right?
Yes.
Is help guide them and open up their world. Sometimes the kids just think everything is just so small, and it's like, it's a whole world out here.
Absolutely.
Pick your career, live your dream. You live in America. That's
exactly
That's what we
right.
keep saying to our kids. So let's talk about some of the wins in education, and there have been a lot. Title IX. I mean, this has been, for Moms for America and moms that are watching, a huge concern. The Trump administration, yourself, have been relentless in their efforts to protect girls in sports and in their spaces. No mother wants their daughter competing with a male or a male in their locker room. Common sense. This is about safety. This is about fairness and biological reality. Tell our moms some of the wins that have been happening this year and recently. And as soon as President Trump took office, it was a big one with him.
Sure. Well, we took the University of Pennsylvania to task.
Yes.
Leah Thomas had won all of those, swimming medals.
Right.
And so, one of the things that the University of Pennsylvania agreed to do was to apologize to all of the
sure did.
the females who had been unjustly having to compete against males in their sport. They took their medals back. And as I said, they apologized to them, and now they have righted that wrong.
Yeah.
Women will compete against women, and men will compete against men. So that was a huge win.
That sure was.
It was a huge win for us. And, I have to say thank you, to Riley Gaines, who has been
Absolutely.
such a forward thinker and an outspoken
warrior.
spokesperson for this issue. And now she has a little girl.
Yeah.
And her little girl is so cute. But she says, I now look at my daughter and say, absolutely not.
Mm-hmm.
You will be treated fairly. You will have a level playing field to compete on. And so I think those are we can look at that and know that we've come a long way with those. There was a volleyball player, a male volleyball player who was playing with the girls.
Yeah.
And he spiked the ball very hard.
Yes.
Hit the young woman, in the nose. She had a concussion. She actually, following that, had PTSD for a while.
Sure.
So not only was her nose broken and she had a concussion, but then she was actually even afraid to be on the court. And that's just so totally unfair. But, when we have men competing against women, they're faster, they're stronger just by genetic composition. And, and that's just a given.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't have a level playing field. It's not safe, as you mentioned.
Right.
And opportunities get taken away
all
from
those
women
dreams, yes.
for scholarships, for sponsorships, for all of those things. And so it is really absolutely not fair. The president, by executive order, said that men would not compete in women's sports. And so even now the courts have said that, biology determines men from women, and that's now being upheld. Mm-hmm. And so now the Title IX rewrite that happened during the Biden administration has now been undone, and it is back to now where it should have been.
Yeah, we've been following all those great victories. Even like Sophie Cunningham just recently saying, men should not be competing. And there has been
I think that quote that you used before, it was common sense.
Right. And
it should be safe, and fair, and a biological reality.
It sure is. And I think everyone is becoming stronger and speaking out. Well, what happens if someone sees this happening in their schools, Secretary? What should they be doing? Well, because it is still happening, unfortunately, but not as much.
Not as much, but certainly they should, if they're in the school, and are you talking about that kind of competition?
Yes.
Well, clearly they can, they can be in touch right now with the Office of Civil Rights at the Department of Education.
Yes.
And as we continue to move things, that will eventually be part of the Department of Justice. But they can file those complaints so that we will investigate that.
Yeah. And they fill that out on your website accordingly. And so those investigations are happening, and you don't hear about it as much, but every once in a while, and in Illinois, it was just happening recently. Sure. We've got males in the locker room and competing.
Let me tell you even a different story, and I forget the school at the moment, but there were some overnight trips with the sport teams. So the girls' teams were traveling, and unbeknownst to the parents, there were boys that were included, in with the girls, and in rooms that I think it was only one boy, and he shared a room with the girl, and they actually slept in the same bed, and the mother just was beside herself,
right,
when she found out.
Yeah, and you think about what are the rights of that girl, that student. How horrible, what a terrible situation to put in, especially a student. They're just going to school. They're just going to compete, and all of a sudden they've got to deal with
all
these
other issues.
Yeah,
and to be in a locker room where everyone, and for sometimes for girls to be told, well, go find another place to change or shower if you're uncomfortable being in the locker room with the guy. And so it then became incumbent upon the women who were in, or the girls in the girls' locker room, to find other space to go because there was, a boy in amongst them, and they didn't want it.
Terrible. Well, thank you for that, and thank you to President Trump for clearing this up, that there is a male and a female. I'm glad we got that figured out, because Moms for America, we know the difference between what a woman is.
I think I was asked that by a reporter one day and said, "Can you tell us what a woman is?" I said, "Me."
Yes.
Me.
Yeah. It's not that complicated.
I was born this way, been this way. I am me, and I am a woman.
Hi, moms. I'm excited to share some news about our new sponsor, the Herzog Foundation. We know you're passionate about raising patriots and empowering your children with the best education possible. And the Herzog Foundation shares that passion. They're dedicated to promoting liberty through education freedom and helping parents like you choose the best educational path. They offer a powerhouse of resources designed to support families and schools alike, whether you're ready to dive in headfirst to the world of education or simply looking for more ways to empower your child's learning. From free training events to their must-read online publication, The Lion, they're committed to keeping you informed about what's happening in education. Also, if you've ever thought, moms, about starting your own Christian school or co-op, their School Box online course will give you everything you need to get started on the right foot. Again, we are so proud to partner with the Herzog Foundation, and we encourage you to explore all their amazing tools and the insights that they offer. So go ahead, visit herzogfoundation.com to learn more. You won't want to miss these incredible resources. Again, find it all out at herzogfoundation.com. All right, sexual predators. There's a crackdown in schools on this. Another thing that you've been addressing. The Department of Education launched a national initiative to crack down on sexual predators K through 12. Is this true? 1 out of every 10 students will face sexual misconduct within the school system?
By teachers or school staff?
Yeah.
1 in 10.
Wow.
And I only recently became familiar with that statistic. And it blew my mind.
Yeah.
And
scary.
And what happens in those schools, and these are the investigations that we did, teachers' unions are very complicit in hiding these records. And parents who don't report it to the police, that would be my first reaction.
Right.
I would first of all go to the local authorities to register this complaint for investigation. But when they do, often, and it's investigated, what happens is the school, even prior to that, transfers this teacher to another area. The records are glossed over, shall we say, so that there is no record of that misconduct from the teacher, and goes on to another school to perhaps, unfortunately, repeat that behavior. That is absolutely unconscionable that would happen.
Right.
Those sexual
Is that the
predators,
pass the trash? Is that
that's the
term
pass the
you
trash. Thank you. Yes, it's called pass the trash. And it is just unconscionable that should be done to our children.
Right, and it should be exposed. Thank you for that. All right, hiding gender transitions from parents. All right, teachers have been hiding. They've been encouraging. They've been aiding students to, and we've heard this, if not once, twice, if not 10, 20, 50 times, gender transitions at school. We've fought this clearly with Moms for America, withholding important information from parents. You have criticized the districts that failed to notify parents. Thank you. You're calling it a violation of parental rights. This has been happening It's still happening, unfortunately. But tell us about the Department of Education, along with the DOJ, how you are addressing this. So good.
Well, it is really very, very important, that we address this issue. And it's actually against the law. There is an existing law in the books. It's called FERPA, and that is to protect parents' rights and to make sure that parents are the ones who are informed, about their children. You can't give a child a Tylenol at a school without parental permission, and most of the time, I believe, that has to be in writing.
Right.
But yet you could have conversations with the child about doing something as incredible as taking on different pronouns or a different name and experiencing transgender talks and conversations and sort of
it's incredible
psychological brainwashing and all of that. And you can't legally, but there are schools that have been doing that without the parents' permission.
Secret names, secret changing rooms, putting them in different bathrooms.
And the children have even been taught, don't tell your parents.
Yes, dividing a wedge now.
Don't tell your parents. We're keeping the records separate, and they actually will keep a file that is different from the main educational file of the child. Yeah. Now, this is a federal violation, and so to get the DOJ involved in these kind of investigations is clearly something we are doing as well.
Yeah, I saw Harmeet Dillon do a post on her saying you will be dealt with.
You do not want to cross Harmeet.
No, you do not. You don't want to cross anyone because we're so passionate about this.
But we are, and parents. I mean, literally, when they find this out, and we found just this week, I think we had a case that we brought out in Arundel, Maryland. And it was about a child, a female child, who had been referred to in emails that had been sent to the parents over a period of time as a male, with a male's name and him or he in the email. And so when the parent inquired about it from school, first told, it's just a mistake, we're really sorry. But it didn't happen one time. It happened several times. And when the parent actually then inquired and wanted to see, the child's records, they were refused. So, we're investigating things like that.
Right. Again, and if one of our moms, this happens to them, they can go ahead and fill out a civil.
Absolutely.
Right.
But please do go to your local authorities.
Yes.
Report these incidences. Yes. Get it on the record as well, because it's just incredibly important that we speak up. And I always encourage parents, look, you are the greatest advocate for your child.
Yes. Go
to school board meetings, meet your teachers, find out what the curriculum is in your classroom. Make sure you are engaged in your child's activity, because you are, the greatest force for good that they could have.
That's right. And sometimes, I think parents feel like, well, the school does such a great job at this. They're really the educators. But no, moms, as we always say, you are the greatest influencer.
Absolutely.
And do not let anyone make you feel inferior. To
Correct.
Your point. Yeah.
100%.
Thank you for being that. A little bit of a side story on kind of the same situation that just hit the news recently is that the University of Minnesota is launching, and again, I know this doesn't fall right in your lap, but I would just love your comment on this because it's so insane. The University of Minnesota is launching My Gender Dolls, paper, therapeutic, I'm sure you've heard of this, that have removable genitalia. They will be in the schools in Minnesota, available for children 4 to 10 years old, and it's all taxpayer funded. This is just another example of complete insanity. Why are we having gender paper dolls that you can remove genitalia? Just your comment on that about how bizarre things have gotten in the educational system.
Well, we are investigating it. Yes. In fact, I heard about this just this weekend on the news. And so we've already, launched an investigation into that to try and see what is happening with these 4 and 10-year-olds. Now, the school system is pushing back and saying, well, it's absolutely false. We are not putting this out for 4 to 10-year-olds, et cetera. But we are investigating because they couldn't be any clearer than they were in their ads. And in one of the ads, it was from the University of Minnesota, it was actually talking about how they were, still fundraising to do more research, relative to this. But think about that: a 4 to 10-year-old child, especially a 4-year-old child. And when I first read, they said it was like the old paper dolls where you could change clothes or whatever. So I went online, I've looked at their video, and yes, they are pieces and parts, and you can change. But it's like you don't have to be a boy if you have this and the genitalia is showed.
Right.
Or you can change it. You can take that off and you can put a girl's. And It is the most bizarre concept
right.
of education or treatment. Now, they have said that it would, at first, they've said a lot of different things. It would only be used by professionals and in helping children who are having issues. And I'm going, I would just like to hear more about that. That is for sure.
Yeah, and who's the professional is the parent.
That's exactly right. And parents, absolutely have to be notified of all these things. It's just crazy that they're not. And we have health and sciences that are taught in school. We have anatomy, we have biology, all taught at appropriate age levels along. I don't think there is any secret about human anatomy that is not being taught in schools. But at 4 to 10 years old with replacing clothing and they have various body types and skin colors and all of that they're saying to try to match populations, and it's just bizarre to me.
Right. I remember 10 years ago I had an activist tell me that gender fluidity was going to be taught in kindergarten, and I looked at her and I said, I hope not, but probably. And of course, here we are now. So thank you for pushing back on this. Again, moms, you stay the course because you are the ones that will expose this. And our moms are doing such a good job. I know you've talked with moms all across the country.
I have.
That are stopping
And I
this.
love Moms for America.
Thank you.
And thank you very much for all that Moms for America continue to do, really standing up for moms, encouraging moms, advocating on behalf of kids, because that's really what it's about, is advocating on behalf of kids and going to legislators and talking about, the laws they're trying to pass or to please don't pass this.
Right.
And so I am very, very appreciative for all that's being done with Moms for America.
Yeah, and I should say Kimberly, too, wants me to send her very best to you. But
she is talk about a force.
Oh, she is a force to be reckoned with.
She's a force.
Oh,
she is definitely stay in the path of Kimberly
We just try to
Fletcher.
keep up with her.
That's exactly right.
All right. How about affordability for our kids as far as higher education? I know that you are working to make education more affordable, and there's the Working Family Tax Cuts Act. It's just another positive thing for our moms to take advantage of so they can have more savings for our kids because, like you said, college is expensive or, when they look at higher education, can we afford it?
Sure. So let's separate those for a second and talk about the Working Families Tax Cut Act.
Yes.
Which is the first sort of national opportunity that there is for school choice.
Okay.
So what happens in each state, first of all, the governor has to opt into the program.
Okay.
And then there has to be established in that state a 501c3, which is an organization if you donate to, you can get a tax deduction from.
Perfect.
It's a nonprofit that is within the state. And what happens then is any individual can contribute as much into that 501c3 as they wish.
Nice.
They could do $1 million, $2 million. They are allowed then up to a $1,700 federal tax credit.
Nice.
They can take for that. Now, what is that money used for? A parent in that state could actually use it as a full scholarship to take money to move their child from a failing school into another school.
Perfect.
However, they also could utilize that money for after-school tutoring or for other needs that the child might have in the school. If they have a child with disabilities, they can use that money for special equipment or special services for that child. So there's this money that becomes and it follows the child. Then. It's donated into the private sector. This is not by the private sector.
Okay.
This is not taking public funds away from schools. This is adding to a pot of money, if you will, that can be accessed, by parents. And so we get a lot of pushback on that. Oh, well, rich people could also take some of that money. And there was a study that was just done, some research that was just done. And it said that if every child, if every governor for all the states opted into this, 91% of children in this country would be eligible to be able to take advantage of this. 91%.
Wow.
So that would really be
another
opportunity for school choice.
Okay. And what about higher education?
So higher education, think about this. Now, I've dealt with this mostly from what is part of the Department of Education, which that is student loans, the federal student loan program.
Right.
And so of which we have a $1.7 trillion debt.
Yeah. It's big.
And it's, they're 40 some in default. So we have about over 250 million that are now in default.
I can't even comprehend the numbers, right?
So what we're really trying to do is to help people who are in default get out of default. So there are other programs that are coming in. And that's to help them get back on track to start paying down their loan.
Right.
And also under the Working Families Tax Cuts Act, there is there is that opportunity to get back into a sound payment schedule. And by 2028, there'll be only 2 pathways that you can then start to repay, your debt, and they're very sound.
Yeah.
So we hope there'll be a lot of advantage of that. The other thing, though, what do we do to get universities to start to bring down the cost of their college?
Great question. I'm sure you get this asked to you all the time, huh?
So you talk about affordability. I mean, up until now, whatever a university said was the cost of their graduate program, you could borrow that. If they said it was $200,000 or $250,000, you could borrow that.
Wow.
So what we have done is put caps on graduate programs.
I love that, yeah.
So now you cannot borrow all of that money. And we found within a week of that announcement, schools started to bring down the cost of graduate schools. A business program, a couple of other programs around the country, as much as 33%, 29%, 30%. And so there are more and more universities now are starting to bring down the cost of their programs because they know that it's just not going to be as much of a
cash cow kind of thing.
A cash cow kind of a ride.
Yeah, good. Love that. Let's talk about some of the funding too. And this is a question that sometimes we get. Foreign funding and foreign influence with the colleges. There's been recently President Trump said we want an unprecedented visibility from foreign influence in the education system. And we know that the education system has been taken over and it's been kind of like an indoctrination camp, for lack of a better term.
Sure, there's a lot of ideology that's being taught rather than subject matter.
Right, and it comes with this money from other countries too.
It is, and it's called Section 117 of the Higher Education Act.
Explain that for us.
In which universities are required by law to report on monies that come in from foreign countries, how much it is and where it comes from. So what we started investigating was that, hey, a lot of universities are behind in their reporting, and some were complaining that it was difficult, et cetera. So what we did at the Department of Education was design a new system, if you will, so that it has much more transparency, much easier to go into, and actually provide that information that is available to the public, by the way. But universities are required to do that. Now, not only does that help us know where these sources of income are coming from, but we also want to make sure that we are flagging things that are, seemingly a little bit out of whack.
Yes.
And we want the government to take a look at it. So one of the things that we have done in signing our interagency agreements is to move out of the Department of Education this reporting of Section 117 into the State Department. Because they immediately know, this money came from here.
Right.
They know what the background is of that country. They know if there's a red flag is going up, how should they address that, et cetera. And so we want that kind of transparency. It is a risk
necessary
to national security if we have foreign countries who are not friends of our country funding education, not only providing ways for these students to be in our country, in our universities, but also stealing information and trademarks and patented information to take back to their country.
It is national security.
It is national security.
And when you look at it, it's Qatar or Qatar, however depending on how they say that, in China are the top two highest donors to our system. And think about that. So thank you for that too. I just want to get everybody up to date on some of these great things that are happening because I think there is a frustration across the country. There is a concern, and you're just doing such a wonderful job. You talked about this already. Advocating for empowering parents as primary decision makers in their education education. You talk about that so much. What can parents do to kind of make that more cohesive? I think there's been a lot of separation and not a lot of collaboration. So just a couple of words of advice on that. You mentioned that a little bit earlier, but I think there is a disconnect that's happening now with teachers and the parents.
Well, I think the silver lining to COVID was that parents for the first time had a window into seeing what was being taught and how it was being taught in schools. And it really it wasn't an eye-opening experience for many, many parents. Yeah. And they started going to school board meetings.
Sure did.
To really to file grievances and complaints against the school boards or to learn more information. And can you imagine there were a couple of school board meetings where parents were actually arrested? Yes. And they were arrested and they were actually called domestic terrorists.
They sure were.
Because they were there on behalf of their child for the kind of subject matter that was being taught to their children. If you remember, there was even one parent who started to read a passage from one of the books that was being taught. Yeah. In a lower class room.
Yes.
And the school board said, no,
turn the microphone off.
Yeah. You can't even read that. And it was so despicable in its language that they didn't want to read it out loud on television. And yet it was being taught to our children. Yeah. So parents really do have to be engaged. And I know there are a lot of parents who are really trying, who really are there. They're calling teachers. They're working with school boards. Even running for the school board, to be members of the school board. Yeah. And parental engagement, I think, is, and for parents to be really focused and watchful on what things their children say, or to take a look at their assignments, all of that. Because they're sometimes little warning signs that parents can pick up on. It's no different than when you, on another level, but it's always parents be watchful of your children's behavior relative to drugs. Right. You might see something, whether that child spends a lot of time in their room and not really down with the family or whatever. Yeah. And all of those little things that our parents can see and watch for and take action against. Yeah. So I just encourage parents, you love your child more than anyone on earth. Yeah. You are their greatest defender. You're their greatest champion. Don't let go of that responsibility. Yeah. And you do. You have to police the educational materials. It's just the way it is now. You have to be reviewing those lesson plans. You have to see what's in the library. And again, if you see something inappropriate, say something, bring it forward, bring it to the school board. You empower yourself because we need you there. We need you exposing this. And I do want to say, I believe the predominance of our teachers are wonderful, wonderful teachers. Right. I think they are really doing their best. I think many of them are really excellent at what they are doing. And for those teachers, I would say, please speak up. Yeah. Please speak up. If you see something in your school that you don't think is right, please don't hesitate to speak up. Please let us know what we can do to be helpful and be supportive of what you're doing. And I think the teachers are underpaid. I think they should be paid well. I think they should be bonused for performance in the classroom. That's right. If their students are really doing well, these teachers should be, I believe, bonused. There should be that kind of incentive pay for teachers. Okay. I know you're hanging in here with me. I know we've been doing a lot of talking, but I have just a couple more questions. Okay. Okay. The teachers union. We can't have this conversation without the teachers unions. They've clearly drifted from their core mission of educating children. That has left the house. They're a machine pushing progressive ideology, political activism, and they're failing to address the crisis in American schools. How do we push back on these agendas that are infiltrating our schools? And to the teachers, like you just said, these poor teachers that don't agree with this, their dues and they're being bullied and forced to adopt this world of teachers union, which has become just a political arm, a political machine. It is. And when, there are many states that allow teachers to select or elect whether or not part of their dues, if they must be part of a union, but they can choose that there can be no dues deduction to pay for political, activism. However, You know, I think it's really hard to know whether or not only audits can show that.
Yeah.
But there are many, many teachers who don't want to be part of that,
Right.
but who do belong to the union because in order to teach, and in the state that they're in, they have to belong to the union.
They sure do.
But I think at that point they just have to be watchful and they have to speak up. And if there are policies against what they believe to be true, they have to come forth.
Yeah. Yeah, the teachers' union is out of control. But I think a lot of it's being exposed now, again, to everyone that's speaking up and saying something. Civics education is another one that's been dismissed in the classroom, and this has been another concern of yours, trying to restore a love of country through education. And this 250 this year, we really did do a lot to say, hey, America is great. She may not be perfect, but she's an amazing place to grow and learn and live the American dream. Bringing civics back is really a big push as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of the things I've talked about. You know, one of the greatest heartbreaks that I've had when I've been on tours of states is to going to schools now where the Pledge of Allegiance is no longer being taught. There are schools that I have actually been told by principals of more than one school that they doubt that the students in their school even know the words to the Pledge of Allegiance.
So sad.
And it is really, really sad. And I don't understand that. How do you teach love of country if you don't teach about your country, if you don't teach patriotism, if you don't teach love of flag as a symbol, of your country?
Yeah.
Because I remember how special we treated the flag.
Everyone stood in class when I was in school, and if you didn't, you were in the hallway.
And when the flag is hoisted outside,
yes,
or when it's lowered, it can never touch the ground.
Yes,
and it just was always treated with such reverence and respect. And I think we have to return to that.
Yeah,
because we have to teach patriotism. You can't be patriotic. You can't love your country if you don't know about your country. And that's why I think civics and history are so important that we must refocus on them, not only in K through 12, but especially in our higher ed universities. And there are now many universities. In fact, I toured one at University of North Carolina about a week and a half ago. They have a new civics school, and they're going back to learning the classics in education and debate and the Socratic method and all of those things. And I do think that's incredibly important, but not only the classical aspect, but also modern day and how our government works, for heaven's sakes.
Yes, it's so important to know. All right, I'm going to wrap this up really quickly, but I have to ask you about AI. Our moms are concerned about AI. It's untread waters. It's a new technology. It's a new world. In fact, it's moving so quickly. How do we support education rather than distracting from our children's learning with AI? And you also said something really cool. You said readiness, not resistance.
Correct.
Let's talk about AI, because for the moms, they're trying to figure out how do they balance this in education, and how much is too much, or is it?
Well,
I mean, it's a loaded question, but I know
clearly any technology as powerful as AI can be.
What a machine, yeah.
I mean, and it is going to become more and more powerful. But with the proper guardrails, it can be such an incredible teaching tool.
Yeah.
And I've been to schools. There is the Alpha School in Austin, Texas, which the first 2 hours of the day, students wear earphones. They are eyes on their computer, and they are being taught subject after subject through AI on these computers, but the teacher's right there. It's like having, if there are 20 students, it's like having 20 teachers with one-on-one instruction.
Almost like a tutor in a way.
It is a tutor.
Okay.
Or it's a teacher's aide or another teacher in the classroom.
Okay.
And so the curriculum is being fed to the student as the student masters it. Mm-hmm. So one that's very advanced, they're getting more curriculum and or higher level. The one that is struggling and needs to have a review, information gets refed to that student. And then for the rest of the day in the school, then they are actually doing things to practice the application of what they are learning.
Okay.
And so it is really cool to see that. I want to make a return to that same school because Mackenzie Price, who's the superintendent, I heard her being interviewed last week on Maria Bartiromo's show. And it was about the fact that they are now using the first humanoid AI robot as a teaching instructor helper
Wow.
in the classroom. So I am incredibly curious to go down and see that, because there again, it can really be additive to the instruction, in the classroom. These kids have very high IQs, and they are doing exceptionally well, in school.
I guess just like anything, we have to just make sure our kids are protected, their information is protected, and it's safe. So I guess it's to be continued on this new technological journey of AI in the schools. Okay, just last comment would be some words of advice. Back to school, right now our moms are either sweating, having a panic attack. The children are trying to get their school supplies together. Your grandma, your mom, what's some seasoned words of advice? Because back to school can be tough. And it's,
Sure.
And and they got to let your kids go, and they got to learn, and they've got to, not just learn, but they've got to learn a whole new set of rules with those teachers. And like you said, we're asking our kids to be little watchdogs in the school. If you're not comfortable, let mom and dad know. There's all these discussions moms have to have that is a little bit different from decades before. But what would you say to our moms? Back to school is here.
I don't know that we're saying much different than what we did years ago. It may be different in
different messaging, maybe just a little bit.
Different messaging.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
You might be saying, be careful of this or whatever, but basically, don't we send our kids off to school with, please behave.
Yeah.
Please be respectful. Pay attention to your teacher. Make sure you're getting your work done. Don't be a bully to other kids.
Yeah.
Have good social skills. Say please and thank you. Be respectful of the teacher. Remember that if you are being disruptive in class, you're not only missing out, but you're causing others to miss out, on their education. And I'm talking more now the earlier years. But I think parents have a lot of the same messaging in that regard of things.
Right.
And it's and then it's come home, let's get your homework done, do the best you can.
Yeah.
Study hard, and play hard when you go out on the playground. and try and really just try to have fun and enjoy your day and what you're doing, and do your homework, and don't lie to me.
And get straight A's. Thank you, Secretary.
Thank you.
I'm just so
really
glad to
appreciate
have
it.
you. You're just so wonderful. And I should mention this too. Moms for America, we are such a fan of Secretary Linda McMahon that we have given her a Mother of Influence Award. And we also have given her an Abby Award for being such a powerful leader, fighting for families, fighting for our kids, fighting for the future of our country, and now fighting for the future of education. So
Thank you. And I've been very appreciative of those awards as well. Thank you so much.
Okay. Well, that's it. The Moms for America podcast from Washington, D.C. with the Secretary of Education. And back to school, moms, it's here. Have a great time. Send your kids off. They'll be ready for anything now that the Secretary has given us those words of advice.
Thank you.
Can I do a fun one like this?
Absolutely.
Okay.
A special thank you to our sponsor, the Herzog Foundation. The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of the Herzog Foundation.